Man, good morning, everybody. What's up, man? First and foremost, I want to say Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Happy 2025 to everybody. I hope everybody, had a blessed 2024. And I hope that everybody is going to build on whatever you had going on in 2024. I hope you build on that in 2025 and keep it going. So I wanted to start off this video by saying that to everybody. But now I know it's the new year. So this is gonna be the first video of the year for your boy. And I just wanted to start off by saying I want everybody to pull out their handy dandy calculators. If you got a calculator on your phone, if you got calculator on your computer, whatever you're watching this video on. Maybe you might be one of those people that have a calculator in your pocket. Who knows? But we got to talk about we got to talk about these rushing records as far as for because I want to talk about the NFL and NCAA because we had two players we had two players this year and I don't want to speak in past tense because technically for Saquon he still has the ability to break the record. But last night I watched the game between Boise State and Penn State, and so ashtonjeanty was 28 yards short of the record. And so, but as I was looking at it, I see everywhere people saying, some people saying, "Oh man, he was short of the record, man. It was a great season." Blah 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 blah. But then you have a whole nother group of people, which I understand because sometimes in certain moments, I'm a part of this group of people that says, "Hey, but look, he played way more games than the next person." So I said, you know what, Rick? Let's see if you can really break it down, right? So let's look at the real numbers when you look at these people. So let's start with Saquon right? And so let's look. So I can show you what Saquon Barkley has right here. So when you look at Saquon Barkley's stats, right? He's already played 16 games this year. He has 2,005 yards. He has 345 rushing attempts, right? Now, when I look at this, right, I don't just look at say, okay, this person has 2,005 yards in this many games, right? Because there's so many other factors that go into it, right? So you see this column right here that they have that says yards per game, rush, the rush attempts. Also, sometimes you look at receiving yards because it'll affect the yards from scrimmage, yada, 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 whatever the case may be, right? So with that being said, everybody's saying, well, if Saquon breaks the record, well, he's breaking Eric Dickerson's record in 17 games, right? Rather than doing it in 16 games. And I said, okay, well, that's fair enough, right? But then that made me say, well, let's have a bit of a history lesson, right? Because Eric Dickerson, who has already verbally come out and said, hey, I don't really want Saquon to break the record, which I understand that cements your legacy, saying somebody not breaking your record. But for y'all that's too young to remember, which would include me because I wasn't born yet either, but I am a bit of a historian when it comes to sports. O.J. Simpson was the one to have the rushing record before Eric Dickerson. He did that in 14 games. And to show you how impressive it is, like I told y'all about these other columns, when you look at the rush yards per game, his is higher than Jim Brown. Now, I repeat, his is higher than Jim Brown. Yards per game. Now, when you start bringing up other things like look at the attempts. Now, you can say if Jim Brown had as much attempts as OJ, he would have had 2,000 yards. Jim Brown played in a way earlier time. The 60s was kind of different than the 70s as far as the way football was played. But OJ had an amazing season in 14 games, right? So if you take that 143, right, and you add 3 more games, that's give or take, at least an extra. Oh man, so that'll be like 150, 300, at least another 420 something, y'all, 420 something yards. Y'all pull out y'all calculators and y'all tell me. But you add that extra 400 and something yards. Eric Dickerson doesn't have this record. Or even if you want to do 2 games, right? You just take the little under 300, he's still over Eric Dickerson if he played 16 games. So for Eric Dickerson to come out and say, well, I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't want nobody to break my record. OJ had a record that you wouldn't have broke if he played the same amount of games as you. And just so that y'all know, football is going to keep expanding. The NFL is trying to make money. They're going to try to keep finding ways to make more money. So by doing that, it's going to be more games. It's going to be a time, maybe we all might be dead and gone, but it's going to be a time where it's going to be more than 17 games in a season. They're going to find a way to do it. They might add bye weeks. They might mix in players. They might expand rosters, but they're going to find a way to do that. So I just say all that to say, when you're looking at these types of things, you have to look at the yards per game. You have to look at the amount of the attempts. You have to look at the yards per carry, because all of those numbers go into it. See, his is only 5.6, which shows that these two people technically had a better season than him, even though he has the rushing record. Right? So Saquon's yards per attempt is 5.8. Right? So that puts him above Eric Dickerson yards per carry. Right? And then ED ended the season with how much carries? This doesn't tell me how many carries he had in totality, but I know his is around. I think he actually had more carries than what Saquon has now. So then you have to take all of those things into account. Which brings me to the second part of this video, which since we're talking about just rushing leaders, let's go to my man Barry in 1988, right? Which I personally believe Barry had the greatest college season of any player in the history of college football. I've already said that. But the 2,628 yards, which Barry did do in 11 games. Hey, 11 games. Let's keep that in mind. That is impressive. Super impressive. I don't even think anyone really could come close. Jeanty actually surprised me with how close he got, because after Melvin Gordon's season, which was crazy, because Melvin Gordon had an astronomical amount of carries. And so Melvin Gordon in 2014 had 343 attempts, right? Averaging 5.7 yards a rush, 184.8 yards per game. And I'm like, wow, that's amazing. But if you look at Jeanty has 374 carries. So he has more carries, but he's only averaging 0.5 less yards per attempt. Right? So he's at 7 yards an attempt, right? But he's averaging 185.8 yards per game. See, now y'all understand why all these numbers start to make sense, right? Because then you can really judge how effective the running back has really been in the season without just looking at the yards, right? So Barry had 344 carries, which led him to 7.6 yards per attempt, right? So he only had one more carry than Melvin Gordon, and then he had 30 less carries than Jeanty, right? Which is why I say Barry had one of the greatest seasons. But then I also pulled up somebody. I decided, well, Ricky, let's to illuminate this. Let's bring in another like person that everyone can all agree was a great running back in his time, and let's just look at his stats individually, separate from everybody else. So right here, I have Derrick Henry's Heisman season. So Derrick Henry had 395 carries, which is way more than any of the other running backs I mentioned, right? But he had and he had 147 yards per game, which is way less than all the other running backs I mentioned, right? And he had 2,219 yards from scrimmage, way less than what I mentioned from all the other running backs. And he won the Heisman outright. See, people forget that Barry was a co-Heisman winner that year. I can't remember who he was sharing with. I actually want to look that up real quick. But he did not win it outright. Which is kind of crazy because maybe he did. Okay, never mind. I was wrong about that. He did win the Heisman outright, which is really good. I apologize. I got that mixed up with somebody else. But with that being said, so he won the Heisman, but Jeanty, we know, did not win, and Melvin Gordon also did not win the Heisman. And if you look at just the yards per carry and the yards per game, you can see that it's a huge discrepancy, but he won it outright. So I'm just saying, I said all I should like to say. I know it's a lot of numbers, and I was jumping back and forth a lot. But I say all that to say that the amount of games and all of these things, they matter because your name is going to be etched in history. But at the same time, let's not overblow like, okay, this person broke a record because they have more games than the next person. Yes, because at the end of the day, the records are meant to be broken. It's always going to be more of one thing than the next thing. It's going to happen with passing yards and receiving yards. In the NFL, the passing yard numbers are way higher than what they were back in the day. So your favorite player from 2005, he's going to be 15th or 20th now on the all-time passing list than where he is right now because of the amount of games, how different the league is. And the same thing is going to have to apply for running backs because a lot of running backs are getting way less carries than they did back in the past. But it's up to us to look and say, you know what, let's actually dig into the numbers. Let's say, what does this actually translate to? What does this actually mean for us, man? So I just thought this was an interesting topic, man. You know, everybody can, you know, in the spirit of the new year, everybody pull out your calculators. When you walking down the street and somebody try to tell you this or that, say, hey man, pull out your calculators, man. How much yards per game was it? How much yards per carry was it? How much carries did this person receive? All of these things matter, man. Was this person sharing the wealth with somebody else in the backfield? All of those things matter. So that's all I really got for y'all, man. Y'all give me y'all thoughts on this, man. Y'all like, comment, subscribe. In 2025, we're gonna try to keep this channel going strong. Hopefully, Cuzzo can be back on here sooner rather than later. You know, trying to get everything back in order on his end. So you know, we all have to do that and get ourselves together. But hopefully he can be back on here soon because 2025, we want to come through strong. We want to be dedicated. We want to keep getting this content out to y'all. So y'all really, really, really just let us know what y'all really think of the content. Y'all give us any ideas. If it's good, is it bad, or are you enjoying it? Are you not? Just let me know because we're not afraid to be critiqued. We love to be critiqued at any point in time. So y'all just let us know, man. Like, comment, subscribe, man. And it's your boy.